Good afternoon, this is Donnie Fuchs of the Stop Hayovel podcast. As I promised, I'm offering Who Let Them In Part 2, reflections on religious Jews who brought missionaries into Israel. In my last audio post, I hinted at a follow-up audio. After reading Moshe Feiglin, he wrote an article, as the chairman of Zehut, he wrote an article addressing the Prime Minister, Bibi Netanyahu's recent appointment of Hananya Naftali, the renowned YouTube missionary, in a high position of media capacity. So basically, Likud and Netanyahu, with his long ties with missionaries, has now given this creature, this open missionary who was in the army missionizing, it's all documented, has given him has given the Messianics in Israel, these predator creatures who think that they can take advantage of Israel's limp, weak, impotent anti-missionary laws, and now he gives the missionaries yet another example that things are not what they once were, and there's a degree of respectability, and they can internalize themselves in the system, and not only be accepted and not be thrown out the way they might have once been, but they could actually be appointed to very high positions in government. And he has a very high position as far as media relations. This is a guy who's going to be responsible for getting Netanyahu's message out, such as it is. He's an open missionary. We have countless videos from anti-missionary organizations, even some Hasbara organizations, have posted. It's well known. The fact that Netanyahu is so detached from anything Torah or traditional minded that he could make such an egregious hiring and have this menace within his group of people who work for him is unbelievable. And so ordinarily I'd say, good for you, Moshe Feiglin. Good job, you're pointing this out. The problem is one of inconsistency and a lack of intellectual honesty. We're not idiots. You see, a while back, Zehut, in their constant attempt to rebrand themselves after the failed Manhiget Yehudit campaign to rehabilitate Likud from within, and now starting the very same kind of small party that he was against for so many years. We know that he's reached out different angles to try to get different audiences. He chose a Arutz Sheva personality, radio journalist personality, Yishai Fleischer, to be on a potential candidate in the next elections. Yishai Fleischer. So he could get a certain demographic of the Dati Lumbi. The problem with Yishai Fleischer is that if you peel away that vanilla veneer, and he speaks about Prime Minister Netanyahu's close ties with missionary organizations, so does Yishai Fleischer have these connections. Yishai Fleischer has met and broken bread and formed friendships and had them on his radio shows. Personalities such as the evangelical, the missionary Glenn Beck, Mike Huckabee, and once again, even Shmuel Sackett of Zehut has pointed out that they don't have anything to do with Mike Huckabee because in the past they might have appreciated certain sentiments he said, but after looking into the situation, they saw that when he's not speaking on Fox News, when you see his videos in front of evangelical circles, he's a missionary. So he called out. So Yishai Fleischer has countless pictures and interviews with a Mike Huckabee, who's a missionary. Yishai Fleischer, who's involved with Hayovel, one of the most egregious relational evangelical organizations. They've done the unprecedented. They are now living much of the year within Har Bracha, a religious community, thanks to the rabbi and thanks to people in town who've sanitized them and ignored their clear missionary agenda, which they keep on the back burner now because they're planting roots in Israel. So Yishai Fleischer has connections with them, and Yishai Fleischer is involved with the Yeshiva for the Nations, and Yishai Fleischer had a Tanakh study session, which I believe the first one had Waller. Also, there was Jim Garlow, the notorious Jim Garlow missionary of Skyline Church, and his wife, Rosemary Schindler, And it's very important because if you go on the site of Skyline Church, you'll see that if you click underneath one of their links, they have a Messianic Jewish congregation in Skyline Church. They're not ashamed. It's right on the website. Click on it. And if you click on another link, you'll see rabbi teachers. You have Yehuda Glick, Tuli Wise, and Yishai Fleischer. So how dare Moshe Feiglin get on his high horse and call out Prime Minister Netanyahu when he himself has a person in his camp. He's pandering because he's popular, Yishai Fleischer, in certain circles. And Yishai Fleischer has connections with the most ugly of people. Mike Isley, Robert Stearns, and so many others. How dare Moshe Feiglin? How does he have the chutzpah to put out such an article? And I tell you, I've spoken to people and my friends and my colleagues who work on this anti-missionary work. They've spoken to people within Zehut, and there are people who are bothered by it. But it's not so clear because they haven't thrown him out publicly. So that people within Zehut who are bothered by this, open your damn mouths already. I don't want to hear about, oh, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. This is an outrage. If Zehut is to stand for Jewish tradition and Jewish values, it cannot have a person, no matter his merits, who's involved with these things, who's involved with evangelical missionaries and organizations, and he is. On his Facebook page, he goes something about studying with Jim Garlow of the Schindler either Foundation. I forget the precise name. That's not what. Don't use this false charitable organization that they have. Why didn't he mention Jim Garlow of Skyline Church? Because if you go on Skyline Church, you'll see what Skyline Church is. Saying the Schindler Foundation or the Schindler Organization is a very different thing. Go to the Skyline Church, and I'll include the link, and you'll see. You'll see what Skyline Church is. Anyone who does a history of Glenn Beck and Mike Huckabee, and I'll post the links. Direct support of missionizing, praising for missionary organizations in Israel. So this is very important. Don't open your mouth and lecture us. You've exposed yourself, Moshe Feiglin. The chutzpah to write an article like this, which ordinarily would be a very good article. Of course. Shame on Netanyahu. Shame on Likud. And all these caucuses with Christians and these evangelical subsections of Likud that cater to brother Esau, who wants to kill our neshamas as they once tried to kill us with the sword. Now they want our souls, and they're coming with love and with gifts and with grants. We're not afraid to expose this. I don't give a damn. My colleagues and I, some of us, don't give a damn. We're not afraid of the public pressure. And if you have the nerve to call us out for libel or slander, bring it on. We have the data and we have the evidence. Bring it on. This is Donnie Fuchs. Have a wonderful day.